Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sukma Aprilia. Here I would like to present about my proposal entitled Linked Function Used by the Characters in Little Women movie. The first is introduction. Introduction consists of background study, problem of study, significant of study, and scope and limitation. Background of the study. Language is the most important thing for humans to interact with others as a member of society. People can interact with others through communication. According to Caton, a group or community could not exist without communication. Communication can occur in a group of people, or at least two people act as the speaker and listener, addressee and addresser and addressee, or sender and receiver. To make people understand the aims of communication, they must know the function of the language they use. According to Cook, the function of language is to look at what is being said or written behind the literal meaning and see what the sender of a message is the context tries to do. Language consists of words, phrases, sentences, and text which can produce meanings. According to Larson, meaning can be expressed in two ways, whether explicitly or implicitly. Explicit is taught directly or spelled out clearly, so there is no confusion in receiving the meaning. Implicit is not stated directly but is either suggested in wording or necessary for the purpose to be achieved. According to Nurdiantoro, the message in literary work is something that the author wants to convey by the reader, which has the meaning contained in work. Movie is one of the types of literary work which liked by many people from various circles, but not all people can understand or get the message contained in the movie, because some of the movies deliver the messages implicitly. The lacking of understanding of the message is the cause of less knowledge of language function. Based on the reason above, the researcher chose language function as the topic of analysis in this study. The next is previous studies. In recent years, some researchers have analyzed language function. The first is Ambrosio in 2015, focused on identifying the variety of language functions among children's discourse and how these language functions are used to negotiate meaning in a social classroom. The second is Linas in 2018, focused on analyzing the differentiation of language functions during children's language acquisition. The next is Susanti in 2018, conducted the types of language function used in a medical conversation. The next is Maroba, analyze language function in Air Asia airline advertisement. And the next is Darama in 2019, analyze language function used in Maherzen songs. The next is Kasana, focus on analyzing language functions used by President Jokowi in the hashtag Jokowi vlog. And the next is Sartika, focus on conducting the kinds of the meaning behind language functions used by Hillary Clinton in the presidential debates of the United States of America in 2016. Besides, some researchers have analyzed language functions by using a movie as the data. The first is Arum in 2015. The second is Yulis Diono in 2015. The third is Alvina in 2016, and the last is Putri in 2018. From the previous studies above, the researcher conclude that most of them focus on analyzing the types of language functions and describe the dominant kind of language function found in the data. Meanwhile, none of them focus on analyzing the implicit meaning found in the data. Responding to previous studies above, the researcher will analyze language functions, also focus on the implicit meaning found in the utterances of the four characters in the Little Women movie. This study is conducted based on the research questions below. The first is what are the kinds of language functions found in the four characters in Little Women movie? The second is what is the dominant type of language functions found in the four characters in Little Women movie? And the third is how can the language functions help the reader in understanding the message of the Little Women movie? This research aims to explain and deliver about language function used by the characters in Little Women movie. It is expecting to provide some understanding of the functions of language to avoid misunderstanding because of the lack of understanding of the function of language and to get the meaning or message that expressed from a language correctly. Theoretically, the researcher hopes that the result of this study may help the readers to gain more knowledge about language function. Practically, the researcher expects that this study may be a useful reference for further researchers from English department students who are interested in language functions. In this study, the researcher will limit the subject of the research to the implicit meaning found in the four characters in the movie. They are Joe, Meg, Amy, and Beth. It is because those four characters are the essential characters in the movie and to get the deep meaning of their utterances. The next is review of literature. The first is language function. According to Brown, functions are mainly the purpose of language, for example, to define, questions, respond, create, partition, and etc. According to Jacobson, there are 6 factors of language functions that are necessary for communication. The first is context. Context is the circumstance, the time, and place that the communication occurs. The second is the addressers. Is the sender of the message to the addressee. The third is the addressee is the person who receives the messages from the sender or addresser. The next is contact, is the physical channel of psychological connection between the addresser and the addressee that causing both of them to join and stay in the communication. The fifth is code. Code is the language used by the addresser to deliver the messages to the addressee. And the last is the message. Message is something to be conveyed by the sender to the receiver. According to Jacobson, there are 6 functions of language. There are referent function, emotive function, cognitive function, passive function, metalingual function, and photic function. Referential function. According to Jacobson, the referential function can be used to inform something such as description, statement, report, or explaining something because the aim of referential function is to carry information that is focused on the context. The next is emotive function. Based on Jacobson, emotive function focuses on the addresser. The aim is a direct expression of the speaker's attitude to what he is talking about. It tends to give an impression of a particular emotion, whether fake or true. The next is cognitive function. The aim of the cognitive function is seeking to affect others. Cognitive function oriented toward the addressee, or in other words, it's used to ask the addressee to act or to do something. The next is passive function. Passive function aims to open the channel or to check that something is working, either for practical reasons or social ones to maintain the channel of communication. The next is metalingual function. According to Jacobson, the metalingual function is using to establish a mutual agreement on the code. It can also be used to discuss, describe, and clarify something. The code referred here is the language that is used by the addresser, usually metalingual, used in questions in which the message needs clarification. And the last is photic function. A photic function is a form chosen to deliver a message. It also is used to express something in a different way using poetic words which plays with the form of the text like rhyme, repetition, alliteration, assonance, and so on. And the next is meaning. According to Larson, there are two types of meaning. There are explicit and implicit meanings. Explicit meaning is the information that is indicated by lexical items and grammatical forms. It means that all communication is based on shared information. It may include shared language structures, culture, previous conversation, a collective experience, and etc. And implicit meaning, according to Larson, not all of the meaning is being communicated state overtly in the forms of the source language text. In the process of understanding the implicit meaning, the responders sometimes have to try hard to get the proper interpretation by the imagery or interpretation. Responders need to know certain things like reference, situation, and context. Knowledge of context will help responders to get the right interpretation. The next is research method. In this study, the researcher will use a descriptive qualitative research design. According to Ari, the qualitative explains the processing of the data in the form of words or pictures instead of numbers and statistics. The descriptive qualitative research design will be used to analyzing data of language function that will be obtained from the characters in the Little Woman movie. The researcher uses descriptive qualitative design because this study aims to give more explanation about the data found in this study. The data in this study will be in the form of the utterances that consist of word, phrases, and sentences of the characters in the movie. The movie that we'll analyze in the study is Little Woman movie, which is written and directed by Greta Gerwig from the 2019 American coming of the age period drama. It is the seventh modification of Louisa May Alcott's novel of the same name. The researcher will use the utterances of four characters in the movie. They are Joe, Meg, Amy, and Beth as the data that will be analyzed in this research. The instrument that uses in this study is the researcher itself. The researcher becomes the only one instrument or tool in the collecting the data and in analyzing the data. The next is data collection techniques. The data collection in the study will be done by following some steps below. The researcher will watch the Little Woman movie more than 3 times to get an understanding of the characters and the story of the movie. After watching the movie, the researcher will match the script that gets from the internet to help the researcher find the utterances of the characters. Then, the researcher will select the data based on the utterances of the character from the movie, which will be analyzing in this study by using highlighter. And the next is data analyzing. After collecting the data, the researcher will analyze the study by following some steps below. The researcher will identify the data based on the types of language functions found in the four characters in the movie. In the process of identifying, the researcher will highlight the data based on the type of language functions. Yellow for referential function, blue for emotive function, green for connotative function, pink for petic function, gray for metalingual function, and red for poetic function. After identifying the data, the researcher will be classifying the data based on the types of language function used by using a table. From the table, the researcher will know the dominant type of language function found in the data. To answer the research question number 2, the researcher will conclude the most dominant kind of language function found in the data. Then the researcher will describe the data by using 6 factors that are necessary for communication proposed by Jacobson to answer the research question number 1 in the study. After describing the language function found in the data, the researcher will explain the data that have an implicit meaning based on Larson's theory about the concept of meaning to answer the research question number 3. For the last step, the researcher will make a conclusion based on the result of the analyzing. I think enough for my presentation. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.